All right, here we go. Let's get started with a question. Do you ever get stuck feeling like your today is an endless loop of yesterdays? Let me say that again. Do you ever get stuck feeling like your today is an endless loop of yesterdays? Well, let me welcome you to More Powerful Me Motivation Monday. Our session today is titled The Number One Habit You Should Break in 2025. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Mascola. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that you are here as well. Again, I got a great topic that I'm going to talk about. The number one habit you should break in 2025. And I can promise you what I'm going to share with you is not what you think I'm going to share with you. I'm not going to tell you to quit smoking, quit drinking, stay away from pornography, stay away from gambling. I'm not going to talk about your bad habits. I'm not going to spend a bunch of wasting a bunch of my time or your time talking about the obvious, right? The number one habit you should break in 2025. Before we get started, let me throw out a quick invitation here. I want to throw out an invitation for you to get our More Powerful Me weekly newsletter. This is just an email that we send out every week that updates everyone on, upcoming workshops and all kinds of really, really cool things. And when you do that, we're going to give you the free guide to discovering your core strengths. The word core means the central and most important part of something. And your core strengths. This is about, if you make a habit, and here we are talking about habits, right? If you make this one of your positive addictions to be part of More Powerful Me Motivation Monday, you'll hear me talk about over and over and over that there are 8 key areas that we all must master. Personal growth, relationships, finances, physical wellness, mental clarity, nutrition, recreation, spiritual connection, and life's purpose. Number 1, personal growth. This has nothing to do with mindset, has nothing to do with some that crap you hear about the law of attraction. It's not any of that. Personal growth is about self-mastery. That's why we call More Powerful Me the Self-Mastery Podcast. Personal growth is about being and becoming the best and most powerful version of yourself by discovering and implementing your God-given talents. People who do that, they live with more passion and purpose. Their relationships are better. They find themselves making better health and better food choices. They find themselves exercising, working on the temple that houses their spirit. People who understand this, right? The greatest wisdom is to truly know oneself. People who discover and implement their God-given talents just live a different life. There are 5 modes that are defined by what I call the More Powerful Me power number system. The bottom mode is desperation mode, right? Unfortunately, most people wait till they hit a desperate situation to make any choices. That's part of what we're going to talk about today in the number one habit you should break in 2025. Your habits will have you constantly stuck in the bottom 3 modes of desperation mode, critical mode, or survival mode. And our habits will keep us chained to those 3 modes, and it's like we don't even know how we got there. It's Monday, and I'm sure you got up this morning and started your Monday morning routine. Lots of people that are in this, empowerment space that I choose to live my life in, and part of my purpose and Ashley's purpose is I can't motivate you. Motivation is about a willingness. You've got to have that internal willingness yourself. But what we strive to be is inspirers, right? People know what to do. We just inspire them to do the right things. To number 1, live from the place of their truest and most powerful self. Again, your God-given talents. So I'm sure you got up Monday and went into your morning routines. And in the space, you can go to YouTube, go anywhere and Google successful morning routines. And you'll get the experts basically lay out a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 format, right? This is what it takes to be successful. Well, let me tell you something. Today's session is going to break that myth. You know, a myth is a widely held but false belief, and we're going to talk about the number one habit you should break. But back to my invitation, go to morepowerfulme.com, or I will put a link in the description. Again, be part of the More Powerful Me weekly newsletter. And again, we're going to send you the free guide to discovering your core strengths. And I can promise you, you start living from within your core strengths and then start understanding what are your neutral and lesser strengths that you need to not master, because I never will master my lesser strengths. You know, it's easy for me to master my core strengths. My lesser strengths are the ones that I've just got to become efficient at, got to become effective at. So let's get right into the information here. Again, the number one habit you should break in 2025. Again, make sure you go to the description and get your free guide to discovering your core strengths. Because I mean, that's basically self-mastery is about understanding your God-given talent. So habits. Let's talk about habits. Habits are shortcuts. Habits are the tool of the subconscious mind. You know, you've got three parts of your mind. You got the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the intuitive mind. Habits are shortcuts. They are the tool of the subconscious mind because this is the part of our mind that works in loops. Right? Back to the original question that I began this with. Do you ever get stuck feeling like your today is an endless loop of yesterdays? Now you know why. Your subconscious mind works in loops. Your thoughts and your actions become habits because habits are shortcuts, right? And our habits become our lifestyle. Again, it's Monday. You had a morning routine. You have a daily routine. And all of this is probably based on something you do for your profession, right? You got to be at work at a certain time. You got appointments. You got meetings. You got all those sort of things. Routines are actions that create habits, and some of them are good. They make us more effective at what we do. And some of them are bad, right? We all have bad habits that we need to overcome. And we can't even begin to measure the cost of bad habits and the amount of time we squander in bad habits. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what yours are. You know what they are, right? So routines are actions that create habits, and our subconscious mind, habits and routines are the tool of the subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind searches for the familiar. Efficiency means we figured it out once, and then our subconscious mind, once we've had the experience, looks to close the loop. The loop brings us back to the beginning of the loop. You know, it's kind of a sad story, but several years ago, before Ashley's mom went to be with God, she suffered with Alzheimer's and dementia. She was an absolutely brilliant woman. People who knew Gail as a young woman, she was brilliant. Top level IQ, just was a beautiful, brilliant woman. But her life ended up being caught in a perpetual loop. Ashley's dad got diagnosed about the time he retired. They both retired. Ashley's dad got diagnosed with cancer. And, he wasn't supposed to live very long. So they began the process of, kind of taking care and preparing him and them and the family for what was the inevitable. And Ashley's mom became her dad's caregiver. And her life became a constant loop of care. She rarely got out of the house. She rarely got in the car and drove anywhere herself. to listen to Ashley talk about it, the conversations they had on the phone weekly were always the same conversations, because Ashley's mom, the brilliant woman, was caught in a loop. Now, I don't want to get into a deep dive about that, but I can promise you, if you do any, I know Ashley does a lot of research. Number one, for kind of what we do for a living, and the kind of this whole concept of the psychology of empowerment, right? Helping people figure out why we do what we do and using our strengths, our God-given talents to do it. Again, go to the description or morepowerfulme.com and get the core strengths, the guide to your core strengths, because that's what the psychology of empowerment is all about. Figuring out why we do what we do and using our God-given talents to be and become the best, most powerful version of us. We say it all the time. I am a more powerful me. We are a more powerful us because of our most powerful God. God gives us talents, and he expects us to, number one, discover what they are, and number two, implement them into our lives. Excuse me. So, any of you, anybody of you who know my story know that several years ago, I got caught up with a throat cancer diagnosis. I had just written my first book and had launched my first podcast and was, I had all these big plans and all this big stuff. And I got thrown into the rut of having throat cancer. So if you're ever listening to me, whether I'm doing videos or I'm doing podcasts and my voice gets scratchy and I immediately start coughing, forgive the inconvenience that causes you. I'm grateful today that I sit here as a cancer survivor. And my biggest issue is scar tissue in my throat and a hole in the roof of my mouth. So I'm grateful that, I got the outcome that I sat next to a lot of people in chemotherapy and radiation who didn't get my same outcome. So I apologize if you hear me cough, and that was a brief one. Ask Ashley anytime she's around me. Some of these coughing fits just go crazy because it's just my physiology has changed because of what's going on with in my throat. But it's all good. So back to the ending of the story about Ashley's mom. Ashley's mom went to be with God, and Ashley has done a lot of study of kind of the brain and the loops. And, those are the things that I love talking about things. Ashley loves researching things. So, when you talk about God joined our two broken roads and the whole concept of a more powerful him plus a more powerful her equals a more powerful us, we understand what our strengths are, the things that we value. We understand what's powerful in each of our independent personalities that we bring to the table interdependently, and what we bring to, not just us as a couple, us as what we do for a living and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to ask you a question. Looking at the whole concept of actions become habits, habits become lifestyle. Our subconscious mind is always looking for the familiar to create loops. How many people in this world are caught in a loop? How many people in this world are stuck in a loop? I mean, think about the ultimate loop being an addiction. Let me put both hands in the air. Yeah, I had it. Ashley had it. That's how we got started in this whole game of self-mastery and empowerment. And we knew God had a higher purpose for each of us when we understood that the first thing we had to do, 25 plus years ago, I dealt with an addiction, as did Ashley, and that is the ultimate loop, the ultimate habit. So here's what you have to understand. Our brains are elastic. Our brains are pliable. Our brains can change. When you hear somebody say, well, that's just the way I am. Well, no, it's not. It's just the way you've chosen to be, and you live in a loop that you give yourself permission to let your past hold your future hostage. Let me say that again. Well, that's just the way I am. That's just the way I've always done it. Right? You become compliant in the routine. You've given your past, you've given your subconscious to allow the familiar to create a loop, and you've become compliant in the routine of the loop. You got to remember, this is how you learn to control what goes on with you. Your subconscious mind's desire for routines, it's part of the things that can bring you success in life. I mean, you don't want to get in your car and sit there and have to figure out what all it takes to start it again. Those are the routines that are good for us. But some of the routines that you need to break, think about this. The number one habit that you need to break is the routine of your habits. You think in loops, you act in loops because you become compliant in the loops. It's time to break some of your habits, even the good ones. So I'm going to give you several that, while they may seem remedial on the surface, I can promise you, if you want to do the level of research that Ashley does on the brain, you'll find out several of these things. So again, the older we are, the more ingrained the routines and habits become. Well, I've always done it that way. That's just the way I am. Well, it's just the way you choose to be. I don't know about teaching an old dog new tricks, but you can teach people who are my age how to do new things. What are several simple things you can do to break the routines? People who strength train, like I do, I love to exercise, I love to lift weights. People who strength train understand the concept of muscle confusion, right? You don't walk into the gym and do the same thing over and over and over. If you do, you'll limit your growth. If you go into the gym and you do the same, you follow the same routine from machine to machine to machine to machine, and you do the same thing in the same amount of time, you'll grow. Your strength will grow to a certain point, and then it will quit because your muscles have developed a routine. The whole concept of learning to thrive, the word thrive, and I talk about the 5 modes in the power number system, right? Desperation being the bottom one, critical mode, survival mode. Well, the mode above survival mode is thrive mode. Learning to live in a thriving environment. To thrive means to grow vigorously. And you grow vigorously when you don't become compliant to the routine. Right? People who strength train understand the concept of muscle confusion. Well, let me tell you something. Your brain's a muscle too. Confusion forces us to look for a different solution. It breaks the routine. So let me give you some things that you can do that will break your routine. Confusion forces us to look for a different solution. Now listen, I'm not telling you to go quit your job, that's one of your routines. But here's a list of several that I can promise you will make you feel better. First thing, and I'll just beat you in the head with this, sign up for the More Powerful Me newsletter and get the free guide on the core strengths. Do that first. morepowerfulme.com, or I'll put a link in the description. Number 2, get up at a different time. There's where your morning routine begins. Just 15 minutes either side of it. And then change the routine. Get up at a different time, brush your teeth with the opposite hand, drive a different route to the office, look at your GPS when you're going somewhere, and then remember the map in your mind without listening to the voice on your GPS. If you look at your routines, there are countless ways to pivot and strengthen your mind. Again, confusion forces us to look for different solutions. When you change your routines, and here's something that I've learned. When I change my routines, my days seem longer. If I get up and I do the same thing from 4 o'clock when I get up to 8 o'clock, and then from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and my life is so regimented that it's like this habit that I created to make me effective can almost make me less effective because it bores me. So change your routines, your days will seem longer. You'll become aware of things. You'll become aware of opportunities. We go through life and our routines have us almost, when I use the words, give your past permission to hold your future hostage, your routines are almost like blinders that you have on, and there are burning bushes of opportunity everywhere. To be better personally, to be better professionally, and most of all, be better spiritually. So that is the end of Motivation Monday on More Powerful Me. Again, morepowerfulme.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Get the free guide to your core strengths. And I'm going to sign off like I'm going to make it a positive habit to do. Saying, I want you to affirm like we do, I am a more powerful me. We are more powerful us because of our most powerful God. Have a great day wherever you are in the world. You absolutely deserve it. Bye for now.